Hi, this is Erin Broadbent with my Mod 8 Legal Aspects of Teacher Evaluations for EDL 851. The first article we read was Teacher Evaluation. This article discussed ESSA, Every Student Succeeds Act. This act ended the federal government getting involved in prescribing and influencing the teacher evaluation systems. It does not require states to base teacher evaluations on test scores. However, it does require states to develop their own goals. It requires them to also take a look at a broad range of factors so that they can gauge their school performance as well as teacher performance. ESSA Savings Clause provisions are rights preserving, not rights creating. This means that those clauses are not giving new rights, but rather preserving the rights that they already had. Evaluations must be meaningful. They must provide all teachers with clear and actionable feedback. That feedback should be linked and tailored to professional development so that the teacher is able to improve. Improvement plans and due process rights should always be considered when developing an evaluation plan. They also must align with the due process rights of each district's contract. Article 2, Teacher Evaluation Heads to the Courts. This article discussed multiple court cases that were over the teacher evaluation process. Some of them were about how systems were put into place, about key grading components, such as using student scores to judge the teachers, system baseline fairness, such as variations in student poverty, and issues with tenure. The third article, Teacher Evaluation and Issue Overview. This article went more in depth about just teacher evaluation in general. It's a formal process that a school will use to review and rate a teacher's performance and effectiveness. Evaluations should be used to provide feedback as well as guide the teacher's professional development. Evaluations are generally designed and operated on a district level as opposed to a state and federal level. Traditionally, evaluations rely on classroom observations that are done by the principal. Since about the early 2000s, this has been one of the most prominent contentious topics in education. One of the reasons why is that there's been a new wave of research on teacher quality. Another reason is there's been philanthropic interest in boosting teacher effectiveness. There have also been efforts by advocacy groups and policymakers to revamp state laws when it comes to education. A fourth reason is political pressure to dismiss teachers who are performing poorly in districts and schools. Currently, I work in USD 501 at an elementary school that's preschool through 5th grade. We use Frontline Education, which was formerly My Learning Plan. We start off the year by setting individual goals. The teachers create those goals either by themselves or as a team if they want to create grade level goals, and then meet individually with the principal and kind of go over the goals and make sure that they're appropriate and attainable and go over strategies of how to reach those goals. Admin will do an observation and complete an observation form and send that to the teacher. After the teacher has had a little bit of time to review the form, there's a meeting with the administrator to discuss how the observation went. This is all done online, and so the principal will sign off and then send it via electronic to the teacher. The teacher then goes back on their own and completes and signs off on the form as well. The teacher is also able to add in any discrepancies if there's anything that he or she disagrees with. After a couple of observations, there's a formal evaluation meeting. At the formal evaluation meeting, that's when you go through the rubric and it's discussed if you're proficient, advanced, or where you are with your teaching. Both parties, again, sign the form. And again, any discrepancies that the educator might have can be added as well before they sign the form on their own. My principal always has us go back to our office on our own or our classroom and sign it. So if there's anything we wish to add, we're able to do that without having someone stare right at us. The district has set forth specific dates that all goals, observations, and evaluation meetings must be held by. If the date's not met, the administrator has to inform the employee of the missed deadline and then let the employee know about the grievance process. So, for example, this year with my observation, it was a couple days past the deadline, and my principal had to tell me that it was past the deadline and then allow me a chance to file a grievance if I wanted to. The grievance process can be used for many different things. One of the things is if a teacher believes they are being unfairly evaluated, they would start the grievance process and possibly have a hearing. And also if a teacher believes they are being unfairly terminated, they can start the grievance process and have a formal hearing to discuss that as well. The case that I found is Janet Decker versus Valley Center Schools. I chose this case because it's centered in Wichita, which is fairly close to where I am. I felt like it was kind of relatable since it's right down the road from me. In this case, you have Janet Decker. She was the gifted program coordinator at Valley Center High School and Middle School for 16 years. In April, she was issued a notice that her contract would not be renewed. After she had the notice, the school board voted to end her employment. They had executive session meeting with her there, but then they did not have a due process hearing. Janet reached out to KNEA and argued that even though the Kansas lawmakers eliminated due process back in 2014, that teachers who had that right were still entitled to that protection. In January, this court case went to the Kansas Supreme Court. And then the KNEA lawsuit challenged that 2014 law. The suit said that the law was a violation of Kansas Constitution's one subject rule. That means that no bill should contain more than one subject. A couple months later, in March, the case was dismissed in the Sedgwick County District Court. After this case was dismissed, it left behind a system that limits due process rights for tenured teachers. When I become an administrator, it's going to be very important that I'm knowledgeable in federal and state laws. I most likely will stay in Kansas, but there could be a chance that I go to a different state. So regardless of where I am, I need to make sure that I'm up to date on all the laws and that I know exactly what I need to do as a principal and what I can do to help my staff. I also need to be knowledgeable in my specific district laws, policies, and procedures. I think it's important that I know not just the laws, but also the policies and procedures, because even if I don't agree with it, as the administrator, I may have to explain the grievance process to one of my teachers. I might have to help them file a complaint and let them know that they're what laws and protections they have. I think about it similar to with SPED, how we give parents their parental rights. I need to be able to provide my staff with their rights. I think it's important that I will be in communication with our district HR and legal. I think that those are good relationships to form as an administrator. And that way I kind of already know them, and should I ever need them, I'm able to talk to them maybe in a calmer manner than being intimidated by them or not knowing who they are or how they operate. It will be critical to ask questions and ask for help. Whether I'm in my first year as a principal or in my 10th year, there's no shame in asking questions and asking for help. That is something my current principal really is teaching me right now. It's okay to ask, and so it's going to be important to remember that and not just try and have all the answers myself. And on that same thought, I want to be able to have someone in district that I can trust and talk to, someone that can provide me with specific district laws, policies, procedures, and help me through anything, especially those first few years as I'm trying to kind of navigate my way through being an administrator. Thank you for watching my presentation.